Great. We'll go ahead and start with a quick overview of the OA Alliance mission and core outcomes, a report out of accomplishments towards those core outcomes in 2017, and review priorities for 2018. From there, we have the honor of receiving an update from Taholo in Fiji about the COP23 presidency's critical new initiative, the Ocean Pathway Partnership, and the OA Alliance's role within that initiative. And then last but not least, we'll use the second half of the hour for some exciting member updates regarding efforts to address OA and other climate-related impacts within member regions. Please note that we'll pause at the end of each agenda segment for questions and comments. And then with that, I'll turn it over to Caren Braby in Oregon to get us started.
Thank you, Jessie, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for your time and commitment to this group. I wanted to start with just setting the context and framing why we are all here and part of this initiative, the Ocean Acidification Alliance. And as you all have expressed to us in various communications, there is broad interest and agreement on the premise for the Ocean Acidification Alliance, which is that we all recognize this issue as being one that is very important to address, and that it takes a significant amount of creativity, strategy, and collaboration to find ways to appropriately and meaningfully incorporate this problem into our solution finding and our management globally. And so it's with that spirit that we are all on the phone today and have met various times and places literally around the globe to try and help each other work on this issue. And the status of the Ocean Acidification Alliance this year is that we are in year 2, having launched this alliance of 2016. And we view this year as the year of really digging into creation of ocean acidification action plans and action plans that are custom tailored to the jurisdictions that are creating them, both in terms of the geography, the context of the geography of the jurisdiction, and the capacity and role of that jurisdiction within that geographic context. And so it's kind of with that context and spirit that I welcome you and add my welcome to Jessie's welcome and thanks for elevating this issue that is affecting all of us in terms of our economic and ecosystem health worldwide, and that brings us to the table today. The two, I guess the second area of focus for the Ocean Acidification Alliance this year is continuing the work to elevate the role of oceans and the place of oceans in the greater global climate discussion, and doing so in various ways. I was expecting a different slide next, but I can talk about I've kind of gone through these 3 areas of work for this year, really focusing in on ocean acidification action plans, elevating ocean acidification and agreements, and working together to build this coalition that is still new and growing. And to that end, we have a wonderful membership that continues to grow, a lot of interest continuing to build in joining these ranks. And currently we have 60 members, 25 of which are governments, and the remainder affiliates and a number of different types of affiliate members. And you heard the diversity of membership in Jesse's roll call at the beginning of the call. And that obviously is just a portion of our membership. I would like to call out the new members, the newest members that are listed in this slide, some of whom are on the phone. Sweden, Fiji, the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program, or SPREP, Taholo, the Slile Waututh, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, Nation, Wild Coast, Pacific Community, Global Ocean Health, and Union of Concerned Scientists. So we continue to build this amazing community of folks to help each other in developing strategies for building our action plans. And just as a pause before we kind of move on to the remainder of our introductions and not wanting to take up too long, I wanted to just kind of recognize that the Ocean Acidification Alliance, while it was launched in 2016 by California, Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, as well as our founding national partners, Chile, France, and the Ocean Conservancy, we have very much appreciation for the way that this community has built, and this is a community for ourselves and built by ourselves as a group. And we very much welcome leadership and guidance from all of our members moving forward. So again, thank you for being on the call. And I think at this point, I want to turn the call back over to you, Jesse.
Great. Thank you so much, Caren, and definitely agree and echo that this is a very much self-built group, and it is only through your participation, energy, answering emails, answering phone calls, and choosing to be here that we are deciding how and where to go forward. So we very much appreciate the dedication shown this morning and throughout all of last year. So that will bring me to the opportunity to give a little bit of a quick rundown of the highlights, really, of last year. And I'll do so briskly so then we can move into other presentations. And I'll quickly say, if you are on the line, if you haven't muted your phone, please do so, just to limit some scratchy feedback. So please do mute your phone unless you are a presenter, and then, of course, unmute your phone if you are presenting and have questions. All right. So 2017, we are really happy to announce that New Zealand, California, Oregon have all begun to initiate the development of OA action plans, and many other members have already started along on this process as well. As Caren noted, we are keeping in mind that not all OA action plans will have the same framework or structure. For example, some governments are going to choose to write a standalone OA action plan. Other national partners may integrate OA or other climate ocean impacts to existing frameworks like an NDC, which is required by the 2015 Paris Agreement. A national, state, tribal, or city tribal government or city might decide to integrate OA into an existing climate action plan or an ocean action plan, or decide to integrate actions into other ecosystem management tools within the jurisdiction, or perhaps coordinated across a region. So as an alliance, we hope to showcase a mix of these types of options and unique ways that members are approaching their commitments to taking actions on OA. I also quickly want to note that we are inviting and encouraging affiliate members, so non-government members, to create OA action plans that best align and support their existing missions and describe how they can use their capacity to support and encourage actions that mitigate, adapt, and build resiliency to OA, and serve really a critical role in that education and outreach component in addition to data gathering and information sharing. So that's just a quick little update about OA action plans, and we're hoping to be able to continue to share information and reveal developed OA action plans across this year and next as they are developed. The OA Alliance hosted a side event at the United Nations SDG conference in New York last year, and at that time we registered the voluntary commitment to support and advance the development of 15 OA action plans by June of 2019. The OA Alliance had our first in-person meeting of about 10 national governments at the Our Ocean Conference in Malta, and it was a wonderful opportunity co-hosted by Chile and the Ocean Conservancy that reconfirmed a desire from governments to continue and expand sharing the examples and details, particularly around adaptation and resiliency strategies. So it was an excellent opportunity to get that feedback directly. Then, of course, at COP23, we were able to participate in many events, particularly those led by France and the Ocean Climate Platform, and we have been invited to participate in the Ocean and Climate Initiatives Alliance that will serve as a hub of information, particularly focusing on meeting the goals and targets of SDG 14 through the UN Sustainable Development Goals and Climate Action Agenda. And then very excitedly to announce that Fiji, we were able to engage with Fiji in the upcoming, I'm messing up my words here. We were invited to engage with Fiji, the incoming COP president, to participate in the launch of the Ocean Pathway Partnership, which is a really exciting new initiative that we'll hear more about directly in the next few minutes. And then lastly, we worked to convene a couple webinars last year as a way to share information and collaborate and strategize actions around major events. And this is something we're hoping to really focus on more this year, particularly with an eye toward developing a platform for government-to-government, affiliate member-to-government conversation, information sharing, and continuing to be in that direct communication. So you can download the full progress report from our website on the About Us page. It's sort of tucked away in the left corner there, but that is accessible to you if you are interested. And then lastly, priorities for this year, as Caren iterated, will really focus around supporting governments in the development of OA action plans and elevating OA at the international, national, and local level. So we began this year conducting one-on-one calls with almost all of our member governments, and we are now beginning to do outreach to all of our affiliate members. The purpose of these calls is really to get to know the leads for each government or organization working on this issue, and to better understand the specific needs, interests, expertise of each of our members so that we can better thread everybody through the work plan and really create the most meaningful outcomes for members and for the OA Alliance. I do want to note that we are working to build out the existing OA Action Plan Toolkit in hopes that we will make it a little bit more globally diverse and applicable to different regions. And definitely invite you as government and affiliate members of the OA Alliance to help us do that. It's really your expertise, your on-the-ground experience that will make that document the most meaningful it can be. And then lastly, continuing to provide support as we are able to really innovative partnerships in this ocean climate space at the international, national, and local level. So things like supporting the efforts of the Ocean Pathway Partnership and other related initiatives led by our partners. And then, of course, encouraging and supporting our members to lead local education and outreach conversations. And we have several members already embarking on just that, and we're hoping that they will be able to share on subsequent member report outs about their work to educate local communities on the impacts of ocean acidification. So with that, I'll pause for any questions or comments about the retrospective for 2017 and looking ahead for 2018. All right. Well, hearing none, I'm assuming that we're doing the absolute right thing, and I really appreciate, like I said, everyone's engaging in the one-on-one calls and continue to open dialogue with all of you as we go into this year, continuing to shape the work plan and host forums like this. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Taholo in Fiji, and want to say thank you to Taholo for waking up very early to be here with us and provide this update on the Ocean Pathway Partnership.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and I'll just go through some slides very quickly in terms of where we are at the Ocean Pathway, and then if there's any questions, I'm open to take anything, any feedback coming back. But if the first slides could come up, I'll just go very quickly through that. Okay. Next slide. Am I in control? Or?
I'm actually in control,
so you'll... Aware... Okay. For those who aren't aware of it, with the Fiji presidency, the whole our challenge was where do we land oceans in the UNFCCC process. And, you know, there was just a lot of mixed information coming through, whether it's something we do with to raise the bar with oceans in the existing processes, or is it something that needs an agenda item and has to be pushed. What surprised me was just the mixed opinions that kept coming through, mixed advice from very serious ocean people on we need a work program, we don't need a work program, there's enough in the existing processes, oceans doesn't belong here. And so one of the big challenges was trying to clarify what was the best way forward for oceans within the UN. And if we go to the next slide. So the big challenge has become for us was, and then the next slide again, that is recognizing that there's a lot of existing platforms and partners doing really good work with oceans in the UNFCCC, and sort of saying, how do we add value in terms of where we go by 2020? And so we launched the Oceans Pathway Partnership, and basically on a two-track approach. The first track was what do we do in the negotiation space, and as you can see, and then the second track was how do you raise the bar in terms of the action platform, in terms of the actions that are already happening, but especially in the ocean and climate nexus. So you got track one in front of you, and we had a recent meeting in Portugal last month, and the challenge was again, what do we do in the negotiation space? And what we've agreed to do is that with the existing platforms and partnerships, is continue to elevate the ocean in the existing UNFCCC processes, and that's through the subsidiary bodies, which are meeting in May, and then raising the bar in terms of NDCs and national commitments. The other thing we agreed is that it is worth pursuing an agenda item, but it's very sensitive, and this is to be landed in 2019. And the agenda item possibly to launch a work program for COP25, in COP25, and moving forward from there. We're aware that next year it aligns with the SDG 14 emphasis in the UNFCCC. And then there's also the IPCC report on oceans that's coming out sometime in September, October next year. At the same time, we're really aware of the sensitivity, again, not just with our ocean supporters who are saying, you know, why do we need to start a new process within the UNFCCC, and the need to get the narrative right. And, you know, we were just discussing the whole issue of narrative. We go into the next slide. That, you know, what is the justification for saying that the ocean needs more emphasis in the UNFCCC negotiation space? And some of the points in this slide in front of you the whole thing of scale. As you know, the ocean is in the Paris Agreement and in the UNFCCC is listed there as the amongst the as a sink. And then, you know, when we first raised the issue, do we need an agenda item? Someone says, well, then you've got to deal with other sinks and other countries that push other sinks. But again, the issue of scale, that we all know the importance and the significance of the ocean. And in this my sink versus your sink discussion, I don't the fact that there isn't really a discussion here. And then the issue of essential climate functions, the whole that we can't achieve 1.5 or 2 degrees without a functioning ocean, and this is why this whole acidification issue is so important. And then integration of ocean and climate change, that we can't separate the two, the need for more scientific research and the need to spell science properly. And SDG 14 doesn't cover all ocean and climate issues, and recognizing the limitations there, and recognizing also what happens outside of the UNFCCC. So to build a narrative, a 1 or 2 pager out of this that sort of justifies and pull people on board. We'll move the next slide. So we are going into Bonn and looking into what happens now between May in Bonn and 2019. We want to build a block of ocean pathway countries and parties, and the whole issue of the parties owning what they want to do with oceans going into 2019. Tomorrow I'll be going to the heads of the Commonwealth countries, that's CHOGM, and discussing and engaging countries on what we do with ocean and climate. And then in May, we're looking at bilaterals with targeted countries, and also a dinner where we pool together countries that we feel can be champions and create this block of ocean pathway or ocean countries, friends of the ocean or whatever will end up. And then the engagement in the Talanoa dialogue, and starting to see and shape the narrative and why we need to do more with oceans within the UNFCCC. And as you can see, at Climate Week, we also see the California Summit, which we hope to be working together with the Ocean Alliance, Acidification Alliance there. And then COP24 with more socializing and pulling the block of socializing the issue and pulling the block of countries together, and then possibly seeing what could be done in COP24 that just opens a little door in the subsidiary bodies going into next year, and then looking at the whole agenda item issue, which, again, saying it very carefully in terms of how we move something like this forward. We're totally aware that that it's not very popular to put in new agenda items, but we think that there might be significance and momentum to do something with oceans going into next year that we haven't had in the past. Next slide. So finally, on the second track, and this is the last slide that I'll address here, is that the whole issue of increasing 2030 actions, coastal cities and islands, or small island developing states, just aware that it's not just an island issue, that what we're seeing, we've just been through floods and cyclones here in Fiji in the last week. And for those of us in Fiji and Tonga, it almost feels like being through a laundromat in terms of the kind of storms we've seen in the last 3 weeks. And the reality that we face in the islands, we know that coastal cities all over the world go through the same things, and starting to say that there is a broad audience. Whatever happens to our islands is also happening to the coast. And so this issue of action on climate change and linking that to not just big commitments to acidification, and not just big commitments to emissions, but it also should be tied to big commitments to healthy oceans. And this is something we want to get out of the city networks, and looking at this thing on critical cities or cities on the front line with islands, and working on this initiative to see what we can do to raise the bar to get ocean health commitments alongside emission commitments. Transportation, again, maritime is the emphasis, but we're finding here in the Pacific we need clear commitments on emissions, for example, on transportation, both maritime and land, and looking at something before the end of the year. Ocean acidification, that's what we're on this forum for. We totally support the activities of the Alliance, and I'm hoping we can do something together in California at the summit, and then going into COP24 and COP25. Blue carbon, and looking at the funding, the emphasis on the funding mechanisms that can support the maintenance and restoration of coastal ecosystems. And then ocean and the NDCs is increasing effective engagement of healthy oceans in the NDCs. And then finally, the law, it's actually cutting edge in terms of climate change and law, islands and coasts and oceans. And many of you are aware of that, and we're keen on seeing how do we move this discussion further. And so this is some of the things that we're currently working on, and starting to actually get some concrete commitments in terms of where we can add value in getting some momentum on some of these issues. I think I'm going to leave it there and just open it if there's any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taholo, for that presentation, and we are honored as the OA Alliance to be part of this initiative and looking for opportunities to be as supportive and useful as possible. Any questions on the line or comments for Taholo? Knowing that perhaps you're on mute. Okay. Well, with that, I really appreciate that update. And as you mentioned, we are looking for opportunities to collaborate a little bit more specifically around the California Climate Summit that is occurring in September of this year. So we will keep all of you updated on what those opportunities are shaping up to be, and definitely appreciate the opportunity to work with Fiji, to work with other members of the Ocean Pathway Partnership on figuring out our way forward in support of this effort leading to COP24 and COP25.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Taholo. So moving forward in the agenda, I'm really very excited to share some opportunities to have members report out on what they have been up to, which are some really significant convenings and some significant actions, pilot programs being undertaken. So looking at the time, I think we'll have about 5 minutes for each presentation, so please do keep that in mind as you're going forward. And with that, I will turn it over to Christina McGraw with the New Zealand OA community, and Tim Writing with the Ministry of Environment in New Zealand.
Thank you, Jessie. This is Christina McGraw. I'm going to start off, and then I'll hand it over to Tim. So I am the chair of the New Zealand Ocean Acidification Community Council. The NZOAC is a group of about 200 researchers, government scientists, policymakers, iwi or tribal representatives, marine farmers, and aquaculture operators. Now, with a population of only about 4.5 million people, New Zealand does have a relatively small population, but it also has a really strong history of marine research. It has one of the world's largest exclusive economic zones, citizens who are really passionate about marine resources, and a very close-knit research community. Taken all together, this means that OA research here has been highly cohesive and collaborative from the beginning. And this is really clear if you go to any of our websites and look at our ongoing projects. You'll find that there are really strong links between research institutions, iwi, and the aquaculture industry. And this is really possible because they've been nurtured for 12 years, which is when we started our annual New Zealand Ocean Acidification meetings. And that's what I've been asked to talk about today. These meetings usually attract about 50 of our members, and not only do they help us keep links between the stakeholders, but they also ensure that the limited resources we have are answering the questions that are really the most relevant for New Zealand. And we can achieve this, I think, mainly through our 2-day format, which we tend to keep from year to year. In particular, we like to kick off these meetings with a half day that's often fairly informal, where we just hear reports back from ongoing major research projects. After that, we have a day of just traditional research talks, but importantly, at the end, we wrap this up with another half day where we spend it in small groups and large group discussions. And this is where we really kind of look back over the last year and see where we stand in terms of new knowledge, new outreach initiatives, and also really where we want to go in the next year, or maybe next 2 or 3 years. Crucially, we try and leave with concrete ideas on steps we want to take in the next year to get us there. Now, this has worked really well for the last 12 years, but this year we mixed it up a bit when Tim Riding brought the OA Alliance to our attention. Now, as a council, we were unanimous in our decision to join. We were already working together to achieve 4 of the 5 goals, and we saw that joining the Alliance could actually bring additional structure to our work, but importantly, more attention to the work that still needs to be done. However, once we sat down to start thinking about our own action plan, it was really hard to see how we, as really just a community, could meaningfully achieve goal 2, reducing the cause of ocean acidification. This, thankfully, is when Tim stepped in again and suggested that we actually get together and work as our council with government representatives and other interested parties to develop a single New Zealand-wide ocean acidification action plan. And since Tim is going to talk about that, I will just kind of leave that there. But I will say that what we did is we took this opportunity at our last annual meeting and really took it as a chance to kickstart this development. So for the first time, we had a dedicated policy section, and we had a keynote speaker, Jennifer Phillips, from the State of California Ocean Protection Council, and we followed that by 3 policy talks, including kindly Jesse Turner, who video talked in to our meeting. And importantly, we really asked each speaker to cover different aspects of practical implementation of either action plans or other new policies involving climate change. And so what this means is really by the end of that, as a council, we now have a much better idea of the next steps forward, although we still have the most challenging aspect left. In particular, at the moment, the New Zealand-wide action plan has a good buy-in, but now we're to the point where we really need to identify priorities within each alliance goal that are appropriate not only for our interests, but everyone's interests. And I think we're off to a great start, and given these relationships that we've really developed over the last 12 years, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to create a plan that's achievable, and one thing that's come up a few times already in previous talks today, but one that's also very meaningful. And so with that, I will hand it over to Tim to talk about the specifics of how we're doing it.
Thanks, Christina, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone else. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yep, good stuff. So I just thought I'd give you a quick background on what's happened here in New Zealand over the last 6 months or so since we joined the Alliance. And as Christina has already alluded to, we have recently formed a New Zealand OA Action Plan working group with membership that represents New Zealand Government Natural Resources Management agencies, alongside the New Zealand Ocean Acidification Community and the University of Otago, which Christine has just described. Our membership is open and inclusive, and we have approached stakeholders, including aquaculture industry representatives, who have committed to being observers of the working group at this stage, with consideration of active participation further down the line, which we're hopeful of. Although having a wide variety of stakeholders at the table to resolve an action plan could pose potential logistical and facilitation challenges, we believe that the resultant plan will be more robust through wide-ranging discussion and representation of diverse views. We expect the inclusive and transparent process will also garner greater acceptance and support for an action plan, be easier to implement, and ultimately be more sustainable and durable over time. As far as progress towards implementation of an action plan is concerned, we are at the beginning of the action plan development cycle. To date, we have begun a government agency-wide ocean acidification inventory, using the Alliance's action plan kit as a frame of reference to help us identify areas where New Zealand is already working on OA-related matters. This will hopefully assist us to identify areas which particularly deserve our focus whilst creating an OA action plan for New Zealand. Over the last 6 months or so, we have had a change of government, and that had a consequential shift in our priorities. So unfortunately, some of the government OA resources have been reduced. However, at this stage, the intention is to move forward with the working group and make progress towards a New Zealand OA action plan in the following months. Our intention is to make substantial progress towards completion of this action plan in the next 3 to 6 months. And we'll definitely keep you all informed as we progress. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Jessie and everyone else in the Alliance organisation for these meetings and the opportunity to understand where other countries and organisations are with regard to action plans and approaches. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina and Tim. That's very exciting, and thank you for inviting us from the OA Alliance to participate in this with you. I think we'll hold questions to the very end so we can make sure we get to all the presenters. And if you have pressing questions or you want to connect directly with the presenters, please feel free to email me and I can set that up. All right, so with that, Alejandra, are you on the phone? And can you give us a quick update on Chile's recent meeting and approach to thinking about actions to address ocean acidification? And perhaps you are on mute.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jessie. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon to all of you. I'm going to give you a brief introduction about a workshop we did last month. I'm in representation of Julio Cordano, and I'm also with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The workshop called Oceans and NDC, a review of our commitments towards the Paris Agreement, was held in partnership with the Center for Climate and Resilience Research, CR2, and the Center for Environmental Law of Chile.
Oh, Alejandra, can you hear us okay, or we're maybe a little bit disconnected?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, go ahead. We heard that you had the meeting on the 20th.
Yes. This workshop was done because Chile has a commitment to the Because the Ocean Declaration, which encourages UNFCCC parties to consider submitting NDCs that promote ambitious climate action in order to minimize the adverse effects of climate change in the ocean and to contribute to its protection in order to minimize adverse effects to the conservation. The workshop raised 3 main topics, as said before: governance, mitigation, and adaptation. In each one of the topics had an introductory presentation, followed by a group discussion with the academia and public services. The results obtained in this workshop will be a great input for the review of our current NDC, and this evaluation and update is being done in response to the Article 4 of the Paris Agreement. The CR2 will prepare before the end of April a report that we can further share with you with the main conclusions and inputs collected in the workshop. Even though right now we have some insights that I will share with you in a moment, just let me give you a little bit of context. The current formulation of the NDC of Chile outlines some elements of oceanic protection in a more general way, and for this reason it is necessary that we incorporate a more detailed vision in addition to the latest advances in this matter, such as the creation of new marine protected areas in Chile. So now, some of the conclusion of the workshop, it was said that it is necessary to encourage more participation of other interested groups, such as civil society and affected local communities. There is also a concern for more development of scientific knowledge and ocean monitoring mechanism, which currently is seen as not enough by these groups to obtain the necessary information for having effective public policies. And several participants highlighted the importance in the development of open oceanographic inventories and records for the scientific and academic community in the field of mitigation. The recent publication of Chile's National Oceanic Policy was highlighted in this regard, although the academy assured that it's necessary to strengthen the current institutional framework and involve the private sector and civil society in the decision-making process. In terms of adaptation, fishing activity appears as one of the priorities. In conclusion, the workshop was an event of great importance for the consistency between the foreign policy and ocean climate connection, and allows us to obtain valuable information to align our commitments within the framework of the Paris Agreement and ocean conservation actions. If some of you are interested in the methodology we use, we can speak further on that matter directly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alejandra, and we definitely look forward to receiving some of those main conclusions collected from the workshop, and I'll be sure to share those with interested OA Alliance members, and we will continue to look to you as one of the members really working towards an ocean-focused NDC as a model that we can share with others, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Sunny with SPREP, can you hear us, and are you ready to go?
Yes, Jessie, thank you very much, everyone. I'd like to thank the International OA Alliance for the opportunity for us to share with you some of the activities that we are working on, especially with the New Zealand Pacific Partnership on Ocean Acidification. I also like to acknowledge and thank my former colleague Tommy Moore. I think he's joined us for the call for his efforts in coordinating this work and nurturing the relationship with some of our donors, which made these projects possible. Tommy, if you think that I missed anything, feel free to jump in at any time. Anyways, before I provide an outline about the New Zealand Partnership, Pacific Partnership on the Ocean Acidification project that we are running, let me just say a few words about the Secretariat for the benefit of those who are not aware of what we are and what we do. The SPREP, or the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Program, is the intergovernmental agency charged by the Pacific and countries for the protection and sustainable management of Pacific Islands regional environment. Our vision is for a Pacific environment sustaining livelihoods and natural heritage in harmony with our cultures. A lot of our work, we are at the forefront of regional efforts to address environmental concerns by providing national level technical advice, program support, human and institutional capacity building, and coordinated regional responses to global issues and international agreements. Now, for the project, we would like to acknowledge New Zealand government as well as the government of Monaco for the financial support, as well as the key partners that you see on the slide there. We work with some of our regional partners as well as international partners under the project, so their contributions are commended. Next slide, please. As you're aware, the Pacific Island region covers a whole an area of about 7 million square kilometers, and we are dominated by ocean. The 26 Pacific Island countries that SPREP supports are mostly small island states, or sometimes we call ourselves large island states. And these countries and territories have significant geological, biological, and social diversity. And unsurprisingly, the Pacific Island people, we have a high dependence on ocean resources for not only food security, livelihoods, and also economical revenue. I'm not forgetting our cultural connections to marine environments and animals. So next slide, please. You can see why this project is actually supporting a lot of all of that work, especially the importance of the ocean to Pacific people. The project long-term goal, the project is actually working to build resilience against ocean acidification with adaptation measures in the Pacific Island countries and territories. The project is a collaborative effort between SPREP, the University of the South Pacific, and the Pacific community, with aims to build resilience with financial support from New Zealand Foreign Affairs, Trade, along with the Principality of Monaco. The project follows from an international workshop on ocean acidification, state of the science considerations for small island states, that was co-hosted by New Zealand and the United States in partnership with SPREP as an official event at the 3rd UN SIDS Council. So the project has 3 main components, and you can see on the slide there, the first component looks at research and modeling, and this is where we are looking at part of some of the countries, pilot countries, looking at part of these sites and conducting marine surveys and assessments in pilot areas that the project can be able to establish chemical and biological baselines, which will be able to follow up by routine monitoring of key parameters, including OA. Next slide, please. The output to the project, we have looked at, there are countries that we work with and piloted under the project. We do work in Fiji, Kiribati, Tokelau, and in Vanuatu, and we have established working relationships and work programs with government agencies and national stakeholders and communities in the areas that we have selected for pilots. And in these pilot areas, we are conducting vulnerability studies as well as working with communities and local stakeholders to develop and come up with practical adaptation actions that the project can be able to address. And the third output of the project, it's around capacity building and awareness. We do have a large array of activities ranging from regional level training capacity building activities, but we also have national in-country activities where we are working with communities to build their awareness and building awareness products to bring the level and capacity of communities up so that they'll be able to address these issues at the national level. Next slide, please. So part of the output 1 or component 1 of the project, we looked at a lot of putting together a regional research around the state of vulnerability. This is where we've worked with some of the regional organization and international partners, and we have a report available on our website that could be testament to this work and also provide you with ocean acidification status in the Pacific as one of the first of many assessments that will be delivered for the project. So I'll be happy to share that with you. Yeah, the next few slides, I think I'll leave it there. What the next few slides are about is some of the recent work that we've done in communities in Fiji, in Taholo, which we have actually done assessments, and from those assessments, we work with communities to develop work plans and response plans on how to better manage their ecosystems and looking at better monitoring and regular monitoring of OA in the local level. So yeah, I'll leave it there. I'll be happy to discuss offline with anyone who is interested in this work, and yeah, definitely look forward to collaborating with everyone on the call and sharing ideas around how to take this work forward. And thank you again for having us this morning.
Yes, thank you so much, Sunny. That was a fantastic presentation, and I'm realizing my error in having such a great group of presenters here. But definitely please follow up with me or Sunny directly about getting in touch with more questions or opportunities to connect. Looking at time, I'm begging forgiveness and hoping that those that can stay 5 to 10 minutes over, you are welcome to. We'll keep going and definitely encourage you to. And I'm also hoping that I can ask Fran Wilshusen and Eliza Geddes if you are available to go a little bit out of order here. I'd love to get a little bit of an update from Northwest Indian Fish Commission here from the Pacific Northwest. And a special thank you to you, Fran. I know you're filling in sort of a last-minute request from Justin Parker, the Executive Director, and very much appreciate your time and commitment to standing in today.
Yeah,
so with that, I'll turn it over.
Jesse, thank you. This is Fran, and I'd be happy to give you a very quick overview, but in lieu of time, if you would like to move us to the next session, and we could then use that time to put together a more comprehensive overview, I'd be happy to do that too. Very quickly though, you were interested in hearing about the Billy Frank Jr. Pacific Salmon Summit that happened on March 19th. And I think I can go through there fast. I've been just humbled and impressed to sit and hear from really around the globe. And it's a wonderful feeling to be connected to this kind of work on this topic. So I just want to share those feelings too. And it's something that I know that Northwest Indian Fisheries Commission, our Board of Commissioners, our affiliate, joined as an affiliate member, and I look forward to what the potential of this might be. So thanks for that. As many of you know, but maybe some don't, Billy Frank was really an incredible leader. He was a tribal leader from the Nisqually tribe that was the head of our commission for 40 years and provided leadership across the country and also internationally on the issues of rights protection. And the Salmon Summit that happened on the 19th was really about forwarding his leadership and was a way to take what we learned from him and try to hold ourselves accountable. The visionary for this was President Sharp from the Quinault Nation. And if we talk about this further and we put together a PowerPoint, both Eliza and I are wishing we would have put a map on the screen to show you where we are. We're on the coast, the northwest coast of the United States, on the coast of Washington. And there's 4 coastal tribes there. President Sharp is the president of one of those tribes, the Quinault Nation. And her idea was let's get a place where we can all come together, all of us, and tell our story and do the work we need to do by combining our strengths to address the issues of salmon recovery. And we developed a call to action from that summit. It was very well attended. There was a great participation there from many sectors of nonprofits, private foundations, state and federal government, and tribes. And the general agreements were that we need to work better together. We need to do more, and we need to really engage progressive leadership. And all of these are built out more, and I will make available them to everybody. But that idea of progressive leadership, a commitment to the value of hatcheries as a necessary part of recovery, supporting tribes and tribal treaty rights as a critical part of that recovery work, bringing innovation into recovery, that there's more that we can do than what we are doing, and then committing to a joint communication campaign across the various sectors. Common objectives were that we need to create salmon corridors, including riparian and floodplain connectivity. We need to restore the connectivity of that habitat by removing structures like dams and tide gates, fishways, levees, all these things that we know are impediments. We need to have clean, cool water and plenty of it. And one that might be most interesting to this group is the productive ocean conditions, recognizing that we need to maintain and improve ocean conditions, even if now it's involved in monitoring and evaluating how to respond to these changing conditions. And then we need to increase hatchery production. We created a step forward, which was to convene a group of folks to work on these issues. The overall connection to ocean acidification was to connect these watershed-based processes as they affect ocean conditions and ultimately tribal rights and resources. So if you want to see the call to action, it's on salmondefense.org. If it's not posted yet, it will be very shortly, and you can watch progress of it. Salmon Defense is a nonprofit that was formed by the Commission, and our Commission represents and supports the interests of our 20-member tribes, two of whom are on the phone today. Jennifer Hagan from Quileute and Maggie Sanders from the Squally are representatives of two of our tribes, and Tommy Moore and Eliza Giddis are staff for the Commission. We've been doing quite a bit of work on climate issues as directed by our tribes and have a report that might be of value to present on one of these calls, Jesse, and as we advance the work of the Salmon Summit, that could be done as well. So I know that was super fast. I can be available for questions if people want, and again, I would offer to put together a more detailed presentation for your next call if that would be useful.
Great. Thank you so much, Fran. I really appreciate you joining and giving that overview, and given the timing of the Salmon Summit was just very recent, so I wanted the opportunity to have that, fresh in everyone's mind, and I definitely will take you up on the opportunity for further presentation, and also realizing it might be nice on our website to post some of the resources that everyone has referenced today across the presentation, so I'll be sure to coordinate some of that. So last but not least, before we hang up, and everyone's been very patient this morning with a pretty dense agenda, so I'll be conscientious of that next time. The state of Oregon, one of our founding OA Alliance members, has been working expressly on putting together their OA action plan, so wanted to give a little bit of time to Caren to give that update. And then before we hang up, the last slide just references a save the date for the very next webinar. I believe it'll be May 17th. And we will be showcasing a new tool that some of you may know called the Ocean Acidification Information Exchange that was created from GOON and the Interagency Council on Ocean Acidification here in the United States. So we will be doing a user overview during that webinar, and I'll give you more information about that, but wanted to flag it before people hang up. And so without further ado, we will not go longer than 10 minutes past the hour. Caren, thank you, and beg your forgiveness.
None needed, and thanks for giving me a few minutes to share some very similar activities that are happening in Oregon, as we've heard about from our members today. And it's wonderful to hear the repeating themes of interest and activities and approaches. So go to the next slide, please, Jesse. So as you all have been touching on, Oregon is very much in the process of embracing the 5 areas of the Ocean Acidification Alliance call to action in the 5 areas of work. Next slide. And before I talk about this coordinating council, I just want to call out to the regional activities that Oregon has been proud to be part of with our partners in California, Washington, and British Columbia. And in addition to helping launch this amazing Ocean Acidification Alliance community, we are very proud to have helped launch and support the work of the West Coast Ocean Acidification and Hypoxia Science Panel, which concluded its work in 2016 and really provided a significant scientific foundation for ongoing policy discussions across the region. And part of that work has led to another activity that we're in the throes of working on regionally, which is a monitoring inventory, which will soon lead to a gaps analysis so that we know that across this region our monitoring network is sufficient and rigorous enough as we can make it to really inform the trends that we're seeing across the West Coast, and that those can then feed into our policy discussions. So in Oregon, the state activities that we have done in coordination with the region and with the Ocean Acidification Alliance includes having passed state legislation last year, which has built this Oregon OAH Coordinating Council. And that council sounds very familiar to the working group that Tim described from New Zealand, in that it includes agency partners, academics, stakeholders, including both fishing and shellfishing industries, and a few other important members, tribal leadership as well. And that council has been asked by the governor of Oregon, Governor Kate Brown, to develop Oregon's OAH action plan in collaboration with or in consistent with the Ocean Acidification Alliance. And the website for the council is listed there on that slide. Next, please. Mm-hmm. So this is the group, and we've just started meeting in 2018, January in fact, and we have our first report back to the Oregon State Legislature due in September. And so we are working quickly to try and develop recommendations, and that is really the primary goal of this council, is to coordinate among partners and then make recommendations to the state. Next slide. And fundamental components of the legislation include the use of science, identifying meaningful actions, and then advising generally the state, including agencies, the legislature, and the governor on actions to take. And not included in this list or these slides is a parallel activity in Oregon, which has been to talk about the development of a carbon cap and invest program. And that was brought into our legislature during our session in February. It did not pass, but the legislation is in the process of modification and development to really take meaningful action on carbon management in the state. And that is expected to return to our legislature next year. So next year will be a big year. Hopefully that legislation will come to a meaningful end, and Oregon intends to have an ocean acidification and hypoxia action plan along with the additional recommendations from the council. So thank you so much for the few minutes to add in our activities from Oregon, and just generally thank you so much for the updates and input today. It's been wonderful to hear everyone. Jesse, back to you, please.
Yes, I'll just echo the thanks. It's fantastic to have everybody here in one room, so to speak, and look forward for more opportunities. I apologize for the time zones being a little bit difficult for some members to make, and I'm trying to still think through how we can best rotate getting up early perhaps. And then I'll lastly note, as I said earlier, we are planning to convene again on May 17th. I will flesh out the agenda. It'll be more probably one presentation for the entire webinar from Shalyn Bush, who is with NOAA Ocean Acidification Program, and she will be giving us a tutorial on this new information exchange that they have created and how members of the OA Alliance might use it as a resource and a tool for their own work. So with that, I invite you, please contact me directly if you'd like to follow up with anyone that presented on the call. I'm assuming that is a welcome inquiry from our presenters, and I will do my best to connect with you all shortly, and wishing you a great day and a good weekend.
Same to you, Jessie. Thank you.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.